We all know the story of the Titanic. But tonight, we're going to talk about a true story from that night, one that really gets to the heart of the choices people had to make. It's the story of Ida and Isidor Straus, and a love that was, unbelievably, stronger than the will to survive.
So just try to picture it. The air is freezing, there's chaos and screaming everywhere. The deck of the world's most magnificent ship is tilting into the Black Ocean. An officer is yelling, he's porting Ida toward a lifeboat, towards safety. It's the only logical thing to do, right? Get on the boat.
But in that one split second, everything just stops for her. This isn't about logic anymore. She looks away from the lifeboat, she looks back towards the sinking ship she's supposed to be escaping, and her entire world just narrows down to one person, her husband.
And with just those words, a choice is made. A choice that goes against every survival instinct, a choice that makes no logical sense, but it speaks to something so much deeper. And that is the story we're exploring.
To really get why she made that decision, we have to understand what brought them there in the first place. We gotta go back to the beginning, to the incredible promise of the Titanic.
I mean, this thing wasn't just a ship, was it? It was a symbol, a floating palace carrying the biggest dreams of everyone on board, from the richest people in the world to immigrants just hoping for a new life. It was supposed to be the future, and that future felt absolutely limitless.
And on this incredible ship of dreams were Isidor and Ida Straus. Now, they were very wealthy. He was the co-owner of Macy's department store, a huge deal. But after 40 years of marriage, that's not what defined them. What really defined them was the simple, quiet, but incredibly deep devotion to each other.
And in just a few short hours, that unsinkable dream for every single person on board would be completely shattered against a mountain of ice.
It started with this sudden, violent shudder. A moment of confusion that really quickly turned into this terrifying realization that the impossible was actually happening. The unsinkable was sinking.
And this is how fast it all falls apart. The calm, the elegance of the grand staircase, it's just gone, replaced by a frantic rush. All that hope is suddenly replaced by this raw, primal fear.
Then you hear the officer's shouts, cutting through all that noise. It was the rule of the sea, a kind of brutal battlefield triage that, in an instant, drew an uncrossable line. On one side of that line was a chance at life. On the other, a near-certain death.
And this was the devastating human cost of that rule. Ida was being guided to a lifeboat, towards safety, while Isidor, because he was a man, had to stay behind. That moment of separation, it was meant to be absolute, final.
So now we get to the moment where everything hinges. She's right there, at the edge of the lifeboat, on the very edge of survival. But she's faced with a choice that, honestly, no one should ever have to make.
Not really. Just for a second, think about it. The instinct to live is the most powerful drive we have. The crew is screaming at you, people are crying all around you, and survival is right there, literally one step away. What do?
So here it is, laid out plain and simple. A long life, but a life haunted by his memory, filled with the grief of this one moment. Or just a few more minutes of life, but you spend them together. A lifetime of loneliness versus an ending without it.
And against the pleas of the crew, against every single survival instinct in her body telling her to save herself, she makes her move. She steps back onto the deck of the sinking ship.
It wasn't a hesitation. It was decisive. It was a determined, focused movement right back into the center of the disaster, with only one single destination in her mind.
And in that one moment, you have to imagine that the chaos, the screams, the freezing cold, none of it mattered anymore. The entire universe just shrank to the two of them.
Her words were just a simple statement of fact. A promise that echoed 40 years of a shared life. In fact, witnesses heard her say, "We have lived together for many years. Where you go, I go." She wasn't choosing death. She was choosing him. She was choosing not to be alone. And so that brings us to the final moments and the legacy of that incredible choice. A choice which really speaks to a kind of love that goes beyond the very idea of survival itself. Survivors who saw them in those last moments, they described this strange sense of calm. While other people were fighting for debris in the water or screaming in the cold, Isidor and Ida were apparently seen just sitting together on deck chairs, holding each other and facing the end, not with terror, but with this profound sense of peace. They had made their choice.
That night, over 1,500 people died. It's a staggering number, a tragedy on a scale it's almost impossible to imagine, and it completely shook the world.
And yet, amidst the sheer scale of all that loss, it's these individual stories, stories of courage, of sacrifice, and of love, that are the ones that endure. They become the soul of the tragedy, the human part that we just can't look away from.
And that really brings us to the heart of their story. It challenges our whole definition of a happy ending, doesn't it? We're taught that survival is everything, that living, no matter what, is the ultimate victory.
But their story, it suggests something else. That maybe, just maybe, the greatest victory isn't about living a long life apart. Maybe it's about making sure that in the moments that matter the most, you never ever have to let go. Their story really asks all of us, what does it truly mean to survive?